giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live, presented by Boston Scientific. We streaming live on YouTube. We on Facebook. And of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker. Still, boom. Y'all in the chat cut up already, man. Hey, today, the Cowboys, I should say yesterday, opened up minicamp. We'll be covering that throughout the entire rest of the week. Got my dates mixed up, man. Lots of nuggets came out of day one from the presser, from practice, and we'll be touching on a handful of things. And I'm going to talk about why I think they got this one thing right. I thought they weren't getting it right, but I think they got this one thing right. Plus, in the roundup, another big name attached to the Cowboys. We're going to find out if it's cap in here or if it's real. Yeah, I'll be reaching out and seeing what's happening. We'll see what's up with that. But Cowboys get another big name, big player name at a position they could potentially use out here surfacing around the Dallas Cowboys. Now we'll see if it's just a ploy or if there's something to it. Cowboys Nation, what's good, Bomb Squad?
Bomb Squad!
Appreciate y'all for being here. No matter how you're watching, whether you're out there driving in a truck, at work, on your computer, got me in the background listening, got me up on your phone. I absolutely love you guys, and thank you for being here every single morning. And what's turning out to be one of, if not the best Cowboys morning show, and it's because of y'all, man. It's because of y'all that this is happening. So we'll continue to keep trying to make this thing great. But look, I got my dates mixed up. I thought they started mini camp today. They started yesterday. So to my surprise, when I got off the show and the presser started, the Mike McCarthy press conference, I'm like, oh, it's today? Perfect, because we got real concrete things to talk about. So then I reached out to 2i. I said, hey, twin, y'all going to be covering minicamp all week? Will y'all be there all week, not just one day? She said every day. I said, let's go, baby. No, this is exactly what I did. Do I got my... No, I don't have it in here. I don't got it in here. But I was hyped, man. I was excited because we'll have real Cowboys information every single day, fresh information every single day. And that excites me, man. So we'll get into some of that today. Then tomorrow we'll go inside minicamp, where we'll talk to our guy, Pat Walker, about the first 2 days of minicamp. And Friday, we will recap the entire week. So we're covered for the rest of the week. And I love it, man. I absolutely love it. So with that said, let's get into this roundup here in a quick second. Again, you can call into the phone line. 351-999-3787 is the call-in line, so we can talk about minicamp and more. I just happened to look over, and Matisse said, did we get the press pass yet? That will be for camp. You have to actually put in for that after this week, and I should know by the time July gets here. It's a bit of a process, but I feel good about it. I think we did well last year, and it's funny that you brought that up, Matisse, because I'm going to bring up a interview I did with a certain player last year at camp. So that's kind of crazy you said that. But we'll see. I'll let you guys know if I get the press pass again. And I'm hopefully this year we get it for longer than a few days. So with that said, y'all, let's hit this roundup, man. We got a lot to cover, and I want to talk to y'all about it. Let's do it.
It's time! It's time! It's time!
It's time. It's time.
It is time for...
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Oh, they do it. Hey, oh, they do it.
Hey, yo. So, per usual, when there's a big name out there, the media usually attaches the Cowboys name to it. And the rumor right now is that the Cowboys potentially have interest in running back Dalvin Cook. This was from a Minnesota reporter. He said, quote, Dallas is another team that has internally kicked around the option of adding Dalvin. Now, a couple months ago at this point, right, we talked about this down at the Cochran firm. We brought it up. We said, well, I said, before the draft, by the way, when the rumors were that the Vikings were looking to move on from Dalvin Cook, I said something along the lines of, I don't think the Cowboys would be interested because of the price tag, but I think they should be interested. Let's run that back. The price tag at that point in time was not only the money. I think he's getting paid roughly around the 10 million APY, but the compensation for a trade. Whatever it was going to cost you, whether it be a day 3 pick or not, I still don't think Dallas would have did that. Plus took on that money given the running back position. I don't think they're in the business of doing that anymore. However, if Dalvin Cook is cut, that changes everything. If Dalvin Cook becomes a free agent on the open market and he's willing to take a 1-year team-friendly deal, he absolutely should be at the top of the list, in my opinion, of potential veteran additions. Dallas has done it for 3 consecutive seasons. Who was it? Everson Griffin in 2020, Malik Hooker, DeMonte KZ in 2021, and then in 2022, it was Anthony Barr and Jason Peters, but that was injury related. I said this a couple weeks ago. I do think they'll add a veteran. They've done that. Whether it be a kicker, that it could be that, whatever. But they will add a veteran in a position that they believe could use some depth. Right now, running back is such a tricky situation because you don't necessarily need a Dalvin Cook at the price he is right now, because running backs don't look. It is what it is. You can call it devalue. You can call it what you want, but running backs are easily swapped in and out. However, if Dalvin Cook still got it, he's still good. I personally think he'd be an upgrade to Ezekiel Elliott from last year. Yeah, I do. Last year, Dalvin Cook averaged 5 yards per carry between the tackles, and that's kind of where a lot of people are worried. Well, who's going to run between the tackles? I personally think Ronald Jones is going to surprise people at camp and preseason, but let's just pretend y'all all out on Ronald Jones, whatever. Dalvin Cook averaged 5 yards per carry between the tackles. He had 30 10-plus yard runs last year. Zeke had 17. His yards after contact, also better, 3.18 to Zeke's 2.74, which ranked 43rd in the NFL. And he forced 51 missed tackles last year to Zeke's 30. In fact, Zeke has never forced 51 missed tackles in his career. Now, you can say, well, Zeke has been better than Dalvin Cook in his career. That's fine. I can care less about what he was 3-4 years ago. Dalvin Cook, I think, is a better player now. So if Dalvin Cook is on the market and this is real and Dallas is interested, obviously it'll come down to money. But I think this is one of those situations where we know that magic number for Dallas. The magic number is about $6 million. It's about $6 million. They'll try to get that way under. And I appreciate that, right? Because it is the running back position. But if you are truly all in, I think he could be worth saying, hey, let's go ahead and push it here to our max at that $5-6 million, especially if you're trying to go all in here. So if this is real, if there is true interest, I'm 100% for this. If it's just clickbait stuff, they're trying to get their clicks, then, you know, it is what it is. It's the Cowboys. That's how you do it. But if he gets cut, Dallas should 100% be in on this. I mean, I'll ask you guys, but I don't think there's going to be a pushback. But if you are you for the Cowboys bringing in a Dalvin Cook? Let me put a price tag on it. At half his cost this year, I think he's around 10 million. So at half his cost, would you be interested in bringing in Dalvin Cook at half his cost this year? So we're talking about roughly $5 million. I would 100% do it. Tony Pollard, Dalvin Cook would make a fantastic duo. And then you could mix in a Deuce Vaughn out the backfield. Y'all know how I feel anyway. If you're going to have a rushing attack by committee, you need 3 dudes anyway. You know? You need 3 guys. So, yeah, Dalvin Cook, man, come on down if you can. Yeah, everybody except Big Sarge seems to be in on this one here. Oh, smoke. So we got 2 no's. Yeah, this seems to be a no-brainer here. No-brainer. The Cowboys are going to be cautious with Tony Pollard and then, quote, we'll see on Terrence Steele for camp. Mike McCarthy had his pre-practice presser, which we'll listen to in a few minutes here. Not the whole thing, just a few clips. On Tony Pollard, this is what he said. He stated they're being smart with him, not pushing. And remember, TP stated he was good to go, but they're just being smart as well. So Tony Pollard, there seems to be no question Tony Pollard's going to be ready here for training camp. They're just being quote unquote smart. However, on Terrence Steele, he said he's the guy they have to see once they get to Oxnard. Makes sense. Tore his ACL, some more severe injury than Tony Pollard's, and it was late in the season in December. So doing some digging, reaching out, it seems as though the people in the building are not worried about him being ready for the season, but they're not pushing him until they get to camp. So I think we'll know more about Terrence Steele's availability in camp once we get to camp. I haven't heard PUP list yet, which is a good thing, because if they're not looking to put him on PUP, that means he's closer than expected. Now, he could be put on PUP and then pulled off. The PUP really is a thing after a certain point in time. If you were staying on PUP list during the season, you'll miss 4 games. So that's something to monitor, because we know Jordan Lewis is going to be on the PUP list. Terrence Steele, however, doesn't feel like a PUP list candidate yet. No one has said that. But we'll see when we get to camp, per Mike McCarthy. So that's this morning's roundup. And we'll tie most of this, actually. We'll talk about the running back room in a second here. And we'll also talk about that offensive line. But before we do that, the Dalvin Cook conversation actually brought up some good stuff in here. Let me see what y'all talk about in here. A lot of people are in on this here, or in or out on this. Smoke said, I swear we just quit on Malik Davis. No. Bro, watch your own video on him. Sky, you were so right about the kid then as you are now about him on that video. No, not out on Malik Davis. Look, just because you're bringing in competition like a Dalvin Cook doesn't mean you got to be out on other guys. What's wrong with competition, number one? And what's wrong with better players? I mean, look, like Malik Davis, dog. What are you insinuating he's better than Dalvin Cook? I think that'd be false. You know, I think that'd be false. Are those that are out on Cook, why? That's what I should ask. Is it the money? Is it that you want a younger player to have the opportunity? Like, what is the reasons? Because it can't be about the talent, right? I mean, this is really damn good player who played 17 games for you last year. So it's not like, oh man, he was banged up, he got injured, he didn't play. He played all 17 games and he played well. And he kind of brings an aspect to your room that some people don't believe is there. Although I think Ronald Jones can be that physical presence, but Dalvin Cook runs with the physical presence at all. So what is it about Dalvin that you're out on? I think that's the question. I know one thing, he's available. Who's he? Dalvin Cook's available. I mean, in the sense of he's not hurt. Will Cook stunt the growth of Malik and Deuce? I don't think you're worried about stunting the growth of, well, again, I'm really trying to be respectful of these players. I don't think you worry about stunning the growth of your 4th running back in Malik Davis. I don't think that matters. Deuce Vaughn is here for 4 years, so you don't necessarily sweat that either. We got to look at this a little bit in a micro standpoint, in the fact that we're talking about Dalvin Cook on 1 year. I'm talking about Dalvin Cook being for 5 years and 1 year getting a duo approach with Tony Pollard. So Are we out on Dalvin Cook because of what? Talent? No way you're telling me backs on this team outside of Tony Pollard are better than Dalvin Cook, right? I guess not what you're telling me. Is it that we're, as Cowboy fans, we're kind of, oh man, we like Malik Davis. We're close to that's our guy. I want Malik Davis to get a shot. Deuce Vaughn is our guy. We drafted him. I'm rooting for Deuce Vaughn. If that's the case, hey, it is what it is. We all have an attachment to certain players. But if we're just talking about what's best for the team, adding a better player, I think is best for the team. So Tom, you didn't say why you're out. You said your concern is cost. How we acquire him, age, durability, front office politics. What front office politics shouldn't matter. He's the better player. So you can get that out of there. Durability, he played 17 games last year. Age, he's what, 27, 28? I mean, I guess. And then cost. Again, that's why I added these details. 1 year, $5 million on Dalvin Cook. And some of y'all like, no. I mean, if I can get 1 year, $5 million out of Dalvin Cook, bro, give me that all day and tomorrow. All day and tomorrow. I didn't think this would actually go this deep, but interesting. I mean, C. Hayes, look, nobody knows anything. And I'm not saying you don't give the guys a chance. Yeah, I see what's going on here. We're kind of holding to our guys. I get it. I feel y'all. I get it. You get attached to these players or to it's your team, it's your guys. Outsiders kind of get looked at. All right, I feel you. I just think Dalvin Cook is a better player than everybody not named Tony Pollard on his team as we currently speak. And if you get him for a reasonable price, sign me up all day. If it's not reasonable, I'll pass. D Shift called in. He might got something to say about this. What's good, D Shift?
What's going on, Scott?
What's up with you?
I 100%. Man, I 100% agree with you, man. It's not like we're about to. It's not like we're about to allocate 18, 19 million to the running back position for 4 years.
Yeah.
We're just doing this for 1 year, you know? Like, I think in certain cases, like, you got to, like, go against the grain and what's philosophically correct, right? So, like, you have good contracts. You have a guy, Michael Parsons, who, like, you're underpaying, like, way underpaying, right? So it kind of balances out. Like, we can't always be a team that's always, like, penny pinching. Like, we get at Stephen Jones, but as soon as, like, you have a move to make that can put you over the hump a little bit, like, it's like the tax you pay, right? I mean, you just pay the little toe tax to, like, if you need to get somewhere real quick, like, just pay the little toe tax. So I think as far as, like, the money and talking about, you know, we don't want to pay the running back room, like, I think in the grand scheme, in the bigger picture, yes. But, like, just for 1 year to go over and push yourself over with somebody like Dalvin Cook, you know, I mean, because relatively, like, who, like, where are you going to put that money at, you know? Like, if you're trying to save $20 million to get a whole bunch of value picks, like, you put, $2 million on Anthony Barr last year. Like, I paid $3 million more for Dalvin Cook.
D-Shift, the player that I go back to that tells me, look, if you're willing to pay this man that amount of money, then you should be willing to pay other players that are better or makes more sense. And I'm talking about Keanu Neal. They paid Keanu Neal $5 million to switch positions, and he was a complete bust, right? So if you're willing to pay Keanu Neal $5 million, who did absolutely nothing for you, you know, hump-wise, I don't see how that would be an issue for a guy like Dalvin Cook, who is still playing at a high level in his career. But I do think money matters, though, right? We're still talking about the Cowboys. So if he's like, nah, I want my $10 to $12 million, then nah, I'm out. I'm out on that because I know how the Cowboys operate here. They're not fitting to put $22 million into the running back room, nor really should they. But again, if he's willing to come in here on a 1 year deal at about half of what he's getting paid now, I'm willing to listen to that for sure. And if you in that room of Malik Davis, or Deuce Vaughn, or whomever can't handle the heat of competition, then did I really want you on the team anyway? If you ain't signed a Dalvin Cook, that should make you want to push harder to make this team.
Yeah, no, I mean, they haven't proven anything yet.
They haven't proven anything.
So you don't. you don't go toward like unproven commodities. And I was listening to the guys on the Final Word when they were Brian Broaddus, and Broaddus was talking about how Malik Davis around, I guess, that Niners game, I guess, kind of got a little impatient and just like spoke out about playing time or something. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a maturity issue with him from what I'm hearing down there.
Yeah, so I mean, there's things going on like behind the scenes also, like that we got to keep in mind. So I don't know, man. I'd go ahead and pay Dalvin Cook that money. I mean, I'd pay Zeke for at a certain amount, just for the production that you can get for him. I just know that they probably do need.
That's where politics would. That's where I would be nervous with Zeke. I don't know if politics would be completely out the window with Dalvin Cook. That's not their guy. I saw somebody in the chat say you didn't extend or you didn't tag Tony Pollard to play second fiddle. Tony Pollard wouldn't be second fiddle. Tony Pollard would still be the lead back here. Dalvin Cook would be the guy that would be working in tandem with Tony Pollard. But Ezekiel Elliott, if politics could be thrown out the window, all right, you can have a conversation. But politics would worry me if he was to return.
And I also contest with Tony Pollard, like you're not only just paying. You're not just paying for a running back. You're paying for a home run hitter, a home run threat.
A dual home run threat. A guy in the pass game and the run game that could beat you both ways. Yeah.
Yeah. So you pay a little bit extra for like a playmaker. Like $30 million for a linebacker sounds crazy, but when it's Michael Parsons, you're gonna pay that $30 million when it's time to pay $30 million.
You ain't thinking about it.
Yeah. So like I think some guys, like if you're talking about paying. Zeke's contract was obviously bad, but when you talk about what you're putting toward and what you're getting out of these guys and what you're paying them for, like you got to kind of consider those things versus just look at it solely in a box of, oh, this is a running back and we shouldn't pay running backs this amount of money because you can get them. Well, you ain't really draft anybody. You got Deuce. I'm going to be patient on Deuce. And, also in the fact that Deuce and Pollard, like, last year, you only had one home run threat. You could potentially have two, which is kind of taking a little bit of the pressure off TP. So the fact that you have those guys and all you need is somebody who can you just need a work truck. You got the Ferraris. You just need you a little work truck so you can. I mean, if you want to buy a brand new one, cool, but you just need something to carry the tote, man. Like take some of those dirty hits, get those dirty yards, and just keep it moving. But that's all I got for the show. So I'm going to sit back and get it. All
right, man. Appreciate you, D-Shift, calling in, man. Interesting, man. Interesting topic here. It's a little bit slightly more divided than I thought. And I think because of that, I'm going to call a bit of an audible. I was going to start off the show talking about that offensive line situation, but I'm gonna pivot just real quick. I'm gonna pivot here, and I want to bring up the running back room because that's what we're talking about here. And this would be a perfect day to do State of the Union to running backs, but we'll save that stuff for the next couple weeks because we won't have a lot of Cowboys content here. Before I do that, though, we got a couple super chats.
Super chat.
Towboat drop one. Appreciate you. Says Stephen Jones is like Paul Heyman in the ECW. He got all this badass talent that he tries to figure out how not to pay. There's some issue on Paul Heyman about that. In fact, we'll get into wrestling stuff later.
Super chat.
Smoke one for you. He dropped 5. Appreciate you. He said, so tell me this guy, would this be an all-in pickup if we go get Cook? I would say yes, but at a good price, my friend. 100%. This would definitely, to me, be an all-in move. Already on top of your other all-in moves with Cooks and Gilmore. But Mike McCarthy actually talked about, pull it up here. He actually talked about the running back room. Interestingly enough, we're talking about the running back room right now. He brought up Tony Pollard and kind of his leadership and what he's been doing for this room and just the opportunity, as you guys brought up, for the other guys. So here is Mike McCarthy. If I can, here's Mike McCarthy on the running back room and how they're taking a year one approach. And that's something I want to discuss as well. So here we go.
Well, that's a cool room. I mean, that's a room that really, I think they've all
just really see the opportunity in front of them. You know, starting with Tony. I think Tony has done an incredible. Tony is outstanding. You know, he's got a lot of natural leadership. You know, if you watch him in the classroom, extremely bright. He's on top of it. You know, because there's a lot of new in that room too. You know, we're asking more of our running back position from a responsibility standpoint and pass protection. You know, we've changed some things, and you know, our outside zone is going to be different than it was before. So I mean, this is, you know, we've taken a first-year approach, you know, offensively. So there are a lot of nuances and technique things that they're going to be a bit different. And Tony's frankly chomping at the bit to get out there physically. So I mean, he's been there the whole time, but I think he's done an outstanding job in the leadership role. And I really like the young guys. I mean, Malik and Rico have really stepped up. You know, Deuce has come in here, and you know, and I think I just really like the way the group's approached it. You know, they've all been. You know, on top of their P's and Q's. You know, I think Jeff Blasco's doing an excellent job there. He brings a whole different, you know, mindset and outlook, you know, from his background there too. So I think the bigger picture things we're doing conceptually in the run and the pass protection, you know, there's more responsibility there, and you know we won't really get to see it until, you know, May 31st, which is the first day we put pads on. So you know, I think that will tell a story. But I think the running back group has really had a good offseason.
We said a handful of things there that I had put down here. The pass protection situation is interesting. They're tweaking that. They're doing different things there. They're completely scratching their outside zone scheme. That is something that I really was interested in hearing about. And I was hoping somebody, and that's very nerdy stuff there, X and O stuff. Those reporters ain't really trying to hear all that. But I wish they would have kind of hammered that home. Like, what exactly? And he probably wouldn't have told you, but I'm definitely interested to know what the outside zone difference is going to be. And then he brought up how we're taking a year one approach. So pull this back here. If you followed Mike McCarthy over the last, how many months? 5 months or whatever since the season ended. And here we go. Since Kellen Moore left, you hear him say this often. Now we're taking a year one approach, doing it with the scheme, doing it with the quarterbacks, doing it with the play calling, doing it with the running backs. Just imagine if this wasn't a year one approach. Just imagine if this was a year four approach, where these guys would be in their comfortability level, right? And that's on them for keeping Kellen around when he was hired here. So there probably will be growing pain. Yeah, I didn't understand the May 31st either, Sir Lawrence. I didn't get that. But there will probably be growing pains offensively because they're taking a year one approach with everything. And maybe this is why it's more important for these guys to actually play in preseason, but a whole different discussion. Nonetheless, those are some of the things that I took away when McCarthy was talking about the running back room in general. Year one approach, outside zone. I actually kind of love to hear about them hammering that, because one of the things they did well was run outside zone. They didn't run it often. They didn't use a fullback with it. They used their tight ends to kind of do the pulls. They sometimes will pull their tackle and guard, but they never really did it a lot. They did more power as opposed to doing some zone things. And if you're getting a outside zone scheme coming in here, Dalvin Cook, by the way, is fantastic. But that's a whole different discussion. So yeah, that was Coach McCarthy on the running back room. So now I'm going to bring this back here and come back to the top where I wanted to start this whole thing out with. And that was what I thought was something I noticed that they're doing exactly right, which just 24 hours ago, I did not think they were doing this thing exactly right. And I'm talking about the offensive line. So coming out of day one, if I could pull this up here. In the presser, Mike McCarthy talked about the Cowboys getting Tyron Smith work this week at left tackle and Tyler Smith at left guard. And when I heard him say that in the pre-practice presser, I said, okay, they're handling this thing right. And what I mean is, I think they're learning from their mistakes from last summer. From what I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong here, it was extensive work at left guard for Tyler Smith. It was obviously left tackle Tyron Smith. He clearly wasn't going to play anything else. And then Terrence Steele. The line was the line. they really didn't prepare for the inevitable, which was Tyron going down. They kind of have no choice but to prepare because Terrence Steele's not in there. But they're not just working on, who's playing right tackle. They are doing a bunch of different variations of the line. And this was Michael Gelkin's tweet here. Tyler Smith saw reps at left guard, Tyron at left tackle, and Matt Waletzko was in at right tackle and also did some left guard things. Chimo Adoja did some left tackle, left guard things, and Josh Ball, he stayed busy at right guard with Matt Forniak doing some more center things. So I actually appreciate this. Let me kind of take a step back. Because look, last week and the weeks before when we heard all this Terrence Steele thing, I think me personally, I'm not going to speak for y'all. Me personally, I missed the big picture because I just kept thinking about Terrence Steele at left. Get the hell out of here, right? Some time passes by. Things seem to be all right now with Tyron at left tackle. They're essentially just preparing themselves either A, for the inevitable, or B, for what could be, which is an injury, right? I do think Terrence is going to be the right tackle. I do think Tyron is going to be left tackle. But they can't be as stubborn as they were last year. They could be. They could just say, you know what? This is the lineup. This is what we're working at. We're not going to try to see what guys look like at different spots. But they did that last year, and I personally think it set them back a little bit. They're not doing that this year. So I think they're actually handling this exactly right. So that's kind of me taking a step back, slowing down, not trying to overreact. Because I think we did enough overreaction when last week when we saw, hey, Tyron's at right tackle. Rumors came out. Gelkin, by the way, who said, I don't see Tyron Smith not playing right tackle. I will admit, I was like, man, there's no way. I wasn't giving that thought any life until Gelkin said that. But now this week, things are reverting back to normal, and let's see what happens in camp. So I'm a little bit more calm from it, but we'll see once we get to camp. And hopefully Terrence Steele is available sooner rather than later so we can get this thing right heading into week 1. Let's get Jake the Great on the horn. What's good, man?
What's happening, Scott Walker Bomb Squad? Good morning.
What's up with you?
Man, I had a question, right? Now, we're going to the West Coast offense, so that means more of the offensive line doing the zone running scheme, right?
I mean, I don't necessarily know, because I think with the West Coast, it's more about passing. I think with the run game depends on what you decide to do, right? It depends on, and Mike Solari, I think, is going to have a big influence, him and Schottenheimer, in how they run these things. So it sounds like they're changing the outside zone looks. But I still don't know yet what this run scheme is going to be. That's why I can't wait for camp personally.
Right. I mean, that's a damn good thing to know what the run scheme is going to be like. Because in my mind, I'm not no offensive lineman guru. I'm thinking maybe a lot more traps and a lot more counters, right? In the zone running scheme, you think?
Well, it's more so if it's a zone scheme, you're talking about like one cut reads. Think back with Callahan, right? Where Callahan allowed prime DeMarco Murray to have kind of 2 or 3 reads and plant that leg, and once he plants it, he's downhill because you're giving your offensive lineman your running back options, and you're telling your offensive line to get to a spot. Solari has experience in many different schemes though, so. He was super power scheme guy in San Fran, right? So he did a lot of power stuff there. But throughout his career, which is a long one, he's kind of did a lot. So I don't know just quite yet, Jake, and I don't want to assume yet because Solari's been in so many different schemes. If it was if Callahan, I'm gonna just keep using Callahan. If the Cowboys hired Callahan, then I know exactly what we're doing. But that's not necessarily the case. So I don't know yet.
Right. And on your question, I was about to say no on Dalvin Cook, right? Because I parked the truck and I went to Googling him, and I'm like, oh, hell no, he got 19 fumbles, and I was calling in to shit all over him, so I realized Zeke Elliott got 22 fumbles.
He was ready.
I killed my
Jake was ready. Hey, not my Zeke. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, he got more focus.
Well, yeah, I know, man. It took all my thunder, man. But you know, that's all I had. I was just worried about the zone running scheme because you know I'm trying to sneak Ezekiel Elliott back in here. I was fresh off the final word, and the OC had me going. I was thinking that Zeke would be a great fit with the West Coast zone running scheme. You know, that's all I was thinking. But great show as always. I'm gonna let everybody else get in. Jake the Great, I'm out. Bomb Squad, take it easy.
Salute. Appreciate you, Jake. Yeah, I mean, look, the zone scheme is definitely good for one cut type runners, and I think that's what Zeke could be better at now, as opposed to trying to be a pure hammer. I just don't think he has too much wear on him. He needs to have an offensive line or scheme that allows him to have the least, amount of contact, the most amount of yards before contact. Let me say that. Right, where you want him not to get touched for about 2 or 3 yards downfield, and then if he can be a yards after contact guy, but he hasn't necessarily been that. Look, man, I promise you, if his name wasn't his name, if he didn't play for his team, a lot of people would be like, I'm more interested in the Dalvin Cook situation. But he is who he is, locker room guy, played for this team. I get the affinity for Zeke. But I truly do not believe you're going to be worse off on this team at running back. I just don't. I actually worry more if he returns that they will play politics than if he's going to be some 1,000-yard back again. I worry about politics. I do. And you can't say, well, Sky, that's BS. It's not, man. This team plays that. It's been documented, former players. It's been documented with coaches. And then just look at your eyes, man. It's clearly there that they played that. So that's what worries me about the whole situation. I don't want this team to play politics. Tony Pollard's like that, in my opinion. I don't mind you getting him a running mate or two, but allow them to be the running mate is all I'm saying. Let's fast forward a little bit here. Let's talk about Did I get? Yeah, I got it right here. Let's talk about Brillo. Mike McCarthy brought up Jabril Cox. Not Mike McCarthy, actually. Somebody at the presser brought up Jabril Cox. It's so interesting how this happened. He brought up Jabril Cox, and he talked about how his recovery is going, how, the progress in his game and the mental aspect of coming off of that injury is a big deal and tough for players, and we saw it. We saw it with Jabril. We saw it with Michael Gallup. But I'll let McCarthy actually talk about himself. Here's Mike McCarthy on Brillo.
Jabril Cox, a guy that coming back from the injury last year, maybe didn't get back all the way. Is he similar to Michael Gallup? Were you expecting him now being so far removed from the injury to maybe back to his old self?
I think you really answered it in your question. I think, when you have players that have a major injury, that first year back is, there's a first time for them, getting through, a number of thresholds they need to get over. So, I can only tell you, based off what I see, I do feel like he is back. He's had a really good off-season program, and and obviously there's more competition there too. So, but yeah, I think major joint injuries take time. And I think you see it each year. Some guys, they never really totally come back clean immediately. So, it's usually the second year where they really feel back to normal.
Let me pause this because it's going to run into something else. I actually got a chance to catch up with Brillo. I think it was last offseason at training camp. And it's funny because he was coming off his ACL. He had just got back on the practice field. And I was asking him, how's the recovery going? Is he going to play in the preseason or whatnot? And I'll let y'all listen to a little bit. This is me and Jabril Cox kind of just chatting it up real quick. And then I'll get to what he did actually in training camp.
Got Jabril Cox here, just came back from the injury. How you feeling, first of all?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Yeah, the knee's feeling right. Feeling faster than ever, stronger than ever. So I'm feeling good.
All right, like year 2, I imagine year 1 it was like trying to drink water out of a fire hose and all the stuff was thrown at you. But year 2, man, how comfortable are you with this?
Yeah, very comfortable. I think the mental aspect was the part that I had to get down. I got that down during the offseason, and now it's really just getting healthy physically. So mentally I feel good, physically I feel good, and I'm ready to roll.
Last one, will we see you practicing with Denver this week and playing on Saturday, or not sure yet?
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. Yeah, it just depends on Britt and my coaches. I'm on a snap count, so however many snaps they want me to get, that's however many I'll take.
All right, man. Jabril Cox. Appreciate it, bro.
All right, right on. Appreciate it.
That's Jabril Cox last year. Got a chance to catch up with him a little bit. Look, man, it's kind of similar to last year, right? Where how you feeling mentally coming back from that injury? He clearly, and you listen to the coaches, I think it was George Edwards also brought this up. He clearly wasn't all the way back, but he had a practice yesterday. And look, I know some people are going to say, oh, well, it's just practice. I think things like this mean a lot, though, for guys like Brilla, who needs that that momentum. And this is Pat Walker, and I think Gelkin also tweeted out about this as well. The final drive of the first Cowboys mini practice was owned by Jabril Cox. He had 2 consecutive PBUs to prevent touchdowns in the red zone. He was then swarmed by his teammates in celebration. The plays were that good, yes. Look, you want to hear this about Brilla, because if he can come into his own in that linebacker room, that just adds more depth. And one of the things that I want to say that McCarthy might have brought it up, but one of the things that I completely believe in is the fact that the young guys last year just weren't ready from a mental standpoint. Hence why they went out and got a veteran in Anthony Barr, because they really couldn't count on those guys. But now you got year 2 in Brillo's ex-teammate, right? And now you got year, was it 5 or 6, whatever, is a veteran in LVE. Devin Harper, we'll see what happens there. But you got Overshown. It's really not a deep room with a bunch of veterans. So you need some of these young guys to rise to the occasion. You hope that Clark can rise to the occasion. You love to hear that Brillo is gaining that momentum and that confidence back in his knee, which obviously will play big from a mental standpoint. So I absolutely love to hear this. And I think it is impressive that he closed out practice in that way. And these are the little things that you build on. I always say this about JG, a whole bunch of JG-isms, but one of the things I love, one of his best ones, was stacking good days on top of each other. And if Brillo can continue to do that, carrying into camp and then preseason, now you gain that trust of the staff and you gain that trust of the nation too, because it may be a point where you need them. You're talking about LVE, who gets injured. And if he gets injured, somebody has to be up next. So good to hear this from one Jabril Cox. And then finally, I want to get to Coach McCarthy, and then we'll finish out here on the phones. I want to get to Coach McCarthy talking about play calling. I found this one fascinating because I'm actually tied together with what Zach Martin said here. But this was Coach McCarthy talking about being back in the saddle as a play caller, right? And you can just tell Mike McCarthy is so damn happy to be back in that saddle, to be in control, because he really wasn't in control the first 3 years of his offense. But I'll let McCarthy kind of get out of here and let you listen to what he had to say.
I mean, I think in all coaches, it doesn't depend on what side of the ball you're on. I mean, that's the ultimate seat you want to sit in. I mean, it's everything that goes into preparing that game plan, and I think that's why, the collaboration and the continuity and the connection of your staff is so important, and how you regulate and dish out the responsibilities all play into that. But that's the guy that gets to compete on game day with the coordinator on the other side of the field. So yeah, I mean, I think it's only natural, and that I'm enjoying it, and it's been a lot of fun to get back into it.
Competition, man. Competition. He missed that competition, and I don't blame him. You're a play caller for decades in this league, and then you're told you can't call the plays. You got to play it off, right? But it was clear. And it's been a theme: continuity, connection, communication. These are buzzwords that continue to be thrown around all offseason, because whether you're pro Kellen or not, whatever, it just wasn't there. There wasn't that connection. There wasn't that communication. There wasn't that continuity. I don't want to use the term dictatorship, but there was an absolute, right? Like that. This was absolutely Kellen's offense, and I cannot put my imprint on it. All I can do is try to alter how his offense is called. And that's what you heard in week 1, where he came out and was like, we got to be smarter with the play sheet. The game plan, not the plays, the play sheet. The sheet ain't the actual sheet ain't changing. Like the plays, we got to figure out best ways to actually put them in order, or how to call them and when to call them. Situational football, complementary football, all those buzzwords he used last year. You don't hear him using those words. You don't hear him using situational or complementary at this point, because that is in his DNA. That's what he's telling you. This is what I do. So I'm excited to see him get back in that saddle. Whether it works or it doesn't work, he should be allowed to go down with the ship if that's what it's going to be. Or he should be allowed to sail that ship to the promised land if that's what it's going to be. He should be the captain. I'm the captain now, not a passenger on his own boat. So I love to hear that from him. Now, not Mike McCarthy, Zach Martin had a very interesting quote about Mike McCarthy as a play caller. He said, quote, "I think he's going to bring an edge to our offense. We're still going to run the football. It's going to be a big part of what we're doing. I think just the communication," there's that word again, "and the little details that we've added this year are going to allow everyone to be on the same page." Your head coach is saying it. Your OC is saying it. Your quarterback is saying it. Your guard is saying it. It was clear that wasn't the case last year. He also said he's got a little edge. He's a Pittsburgh guy. When the guy's in front of you showing you that every day, it rubs off on the group. I just think this is maybe this will go by the wayside. Maybe I'm making a bigger deal out of it, whatever. But I'm going to make a bigger deal out of this. We often joked about this over the years. Anybody running through a wall for Kellen? Anybody getting motivated by Kellen? We talk about being a head coach is different than being a play caller. Why he hasn't gotten a job? It's probably, and not guessing here, because there's rumors out there from, I think it was Minnesota's team, that said they don't believe he can be a leader of men. Do y'all think Kellen Moore had an edge? Do y'all think he brought some type of toughness to the team? Zach Martin said, when the guy in front of you is showing you that every day, it rubs off on you or on the group. That can be a good thing, and it can be a bad thing. You don't think Kellen Moore was rubbing off on the group a little bit? I do. I do. I think it's why you always hear all the Cowboys are soft. Because our identity was just that. I'm not saying Mike McCarthy's going to come here and this is just going to be a rough and tough and team. But Zach Martin, when it comes to Solari and Mike McCarthy, Zach Martin is telling you, this is the second time he's brought this up about Solari and about McCarthy. There's an edge to these dudes. There's a football feel to these guys, and it's rubbing off on the group. And if it's rubbing off on the group, it's going to rub off on them on the field. This team is going to play tougher up front, and I think in general. And that's why I do think things start at the top, essentially. When you got a guy like Kellen Moore, who's your play caller, doesn't have that edge, and it is going to rub off on the group, you're going to kind of, look, it's just going to naturally be like that. I don't think that's going to be the case with Mike McCarthy. So I love hearing this quote from Zach, the leader of this offensive line. And I do personally think that edge will have an effect on those guys up front, which will have an effect on the rest of the offense, because they will essentially probably dictate how well this offense does or how well it doesn't do. And for some reason, my chat is not working over here, but am I making a big deal out of this quote? Look, I'm open to saying, Sky, yeah, you making too much of a big deal out of it. But I don't know, man. I just feel like when he says this about Solari and he says this about McCarthy, and then McCarthy is bringing up communication, McCarthy is bringing up continuity, like, you can't have that divide in the highest of ranks and expect the guys to fall in order consistently. I just don't think you can do that. I just don't. I agree, Professor. He said, nah, it's important, 100%. Now I have to look on my phone for the chat. Apologies, y'all. Coaching absolutely matters. 100%. All right, let's get back to the phone lines, man. Ain't heard from Los in a minute. What's good, Los?
Good morning, Sky, man. Hope you're having a great day. It's a great day as always, and hey, your show is killer like always, man. You keep doing an amazing job every morning, man. So let me just hit on the things you talk about, as far as that, O-line and Derrick Henry. As far as Henry, I really think I want us to be opposed, like you said. If the money's right,
did you say
we
Henry?
can go for it. Yeah, Derrick Henry, right?
Nah, Dalvin Cook, but it was Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook, my bad. I'm tripping today. Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook. If the money's right, you can go for him. You can have that, that Cook and TP combo, right? But I just think there's 3 guys in our locker room that you got to pay first before you let the other dominoes fall. And I think you know who the names are, but I feel like if you could figure that out first, then you can go out and figure out, what we can do later on, and let the dominoes fall from there. But as far as the O-line, go ahead.
So you're saying they should take care of? I'm guessing you're talking about Steele, Diggs, and Lamb prior to adding a veteran.
Correct.
Okay.
And I feel like once you do that, you have a clear indication of where you want to go, how much, or what's the price we're going to have to pay if you really want to get a premium guy. Because, premium guys don't just come off the shelf for cheap, Sky. It's going to cost you some penny, and it's going to see if Stephen Jones is willing to bend that money, because you know how he feels about the money.
Yes.
It's like Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob. He just holds on to it. So
that's fair.
You got to.
Yeah, if Dalvin Cook is going to be expensive, the conversation is done. Yeah.
And like I said, the O-line do need a piece or two just for the depth. And like I told you, Scott, I'm tired of playing these damn musical chairs. I mean, I don't know what they're hoping with Tyron. Yes, he was an all-time Pro Bowl. Yes, when he's healthy, like he's top 3 in that position. However, in these last 2 or 3 years, what has happened, Sky? And it seems as like they're ignorant to the fact that he's not what he was. And I don't know if it's what's that word, incompetent, but I just feel like they need to find a solution, at least figure out a way when he's hurt. Okay, now let's see what we can do and not change. But I will say with this, Mike McCarthy, what I do have faith in this year, Sky, and you hit it on the note, is we might have finally an identity. And when you have an identity in football, if you know what you are, every team has a weakness, Guy. No team is built damn perfect. Like you can say that, whatever. Every team has a flaw, but it's coaching that overcomes your flaws and see what you can do to let's get back in this, game. And I feel like Helen never had it. I feel like once things turn bad, it's like, what am I gonna do? I'm seeing ghosts out here, right? But I feel with Mike McCarthy, if we were to go down, I feel like, hey guys, we know what we are. Let's chin up. Let's go play play some damn football. And I have my chin up on that, and I feel like communication. What you said, it might have been the reason why Dak threw all those damn turnovers, having not the wide receivers on the same page.
Oh, 100% part of it.
That might change too. So I do have faith, and like I said, Scott, this team is going to make some noise because I already done said it. They're going to be 13-4, and it's going to be up to us to see if we can get to our full potential. And I'll leave you with that, Scott.
All right, man. Appreciate you, Los. Shouts out to and I'm not calling them this. This is their podcast. Bitches Love Sports. I see them in the chat, man. I watched, I think it was the show with Vach on there, and man, y'all got to check them out. I really enjoy y'all content. Appreciate you for being here. I know you're in the chat a lot, but you had brought up the observation that happened to look over and see. So salute to you. Yeah, man. Los, a lot of what you're saying is something along the same lines. Identity. Cowboys did not have one. I think, pull this out. I think that having Mike McCarthy as a play caller, you will have an identity. Now, look, everything ain't going to be perfect. Y'all might not like the identity. I might not like the identity. We'll see. But like I said, I'm just of the belief it's best to have your guy, the head of the table, shout out to the day ones, the head of the table calling these plays as opposed to being, second fiddle to a dude who was in diapers when you were calling plays. So I digress. Scott Walker still. 808 Heartbreak. You are live.
How you doing, brother? It's Sonny from Hawaii.
Sonny from Hawaii. What's good, Sonny?
How you doing, bro? I was thinking about this. Sorry, I don't want to change the subject from what the last guy was talking about.
You good?
But I was watching Hanging with the Boys yesterday morning. I was all like, dang, I got to hear what Will wanted to say on this subject. I was like, I wish he was on the show, man. They got to bring him on. I want to hear what he got to say.
Hanging with the Boys is hilarious, man. Nate Newton always had me cracking up, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I was watching it, and I want to see your take on this. It's since in honor of the first day of minicamp. What's your take on two players? I mean, two topics of a player.
Okay.
Who has the most to give up? Like, who needs this minicamp the most in terms of the shortest leash, and who has the most to gain out of this minicamp? My two opinions would be the least, like, he can't give up much, is Kelvin Joseph. A lot of people say Jalen Tolbert needs this cap the most. And then my guy, I feel like this is his year. To be honest with you, he showed spurts he wasn't even supposed to play last year. Damone Clark, I feel like he's going to show you this year, man, to be honest with you.
Those are two good names. Those two good names. I agree with you on Kelvin. I think Kelvin, you said who needs it the most?
Who needs this minicamp the most? Like, he can't afford to.
Yeah.
He can't afford to. My language.
No, you're good. Who needs it the most? I think Kelvin Joseph absolutely needs it the most. Now, what was the other way you phrased the other one?
I said, who has the most to gain from this camp?
I'm going to go.
Both training camp and mini.
I'm going to actually go tight end. I'm going to go Jake Ferguson. I think if Jake Ferguson, securely supplants himself as a trustworthy option, the tight end in this offense and with Dak Prescott is such a underrated kind of safety valve for this room or for this team. And he gives you something that the previous tight ends didn't, and that's a run after catch type guy. So if he can continue to develop that chemistry with Dak Prescott throughout the offseason, he's got the most to gain. Now, obviously, he's got competition, right? He's got Luke Schoonmaker in that room, but Luke is dealing with this foot situation. He's out of the boot, by the way, update. Luke Schoonmaker is out of the boot, but he wasn't practicing yesterday, just kind of doing things off to the side. However, don't fret. He should be ready for training camp.
Now I got you. I'm just so excited about this here and stuff, man. Don't sleep on Damone Clark now. I tell you, you see him 100%. It's going to be
my guy.
Complete. Yeah, there you go, man. Yeah. Hey, I love hearing it, man. Yes, I can't wait till one of these days, man. You got to get an appearance on Hanging on the Boys. You deserve to be there, man. No hating on A to Z, man. Love A to Z.
Appreciate you, man. Salute to my guy from Hawaii. Look, Sonny. Salute. Jesse on there. Jesse probably could give me a little. He could probably do something, but I like their show as is. I like their show, but I might try to surprise one day when they do this little call-in segment or what have you. Maybe I'll try to see if I can sneak on there and surprise them. But yeah, that's a great question. Let me get into the chat and see what y'all say. Who has the most to gain from this camp? I think most of us can agree. Kelvin Joseph. Like, Kelvin Joseph needs this. From the other part of the question, Kelvin Joseph needs a good mini camp or training camp, probably more than anyone. But who has the most to gain? He has Damone Clark. Very good answer. I have Jake Ferguson. I saw Sam Williams. But look, man. I just think Sam Williams is going to be so damn good. I hope he gets a true shot to compete as a starter. And this is no disrespect to Dorrance Armstrong. I just think the ceiling is so much higher for Sam Williams, and I'd rather find out sooner than later. I'd rather see if he can be a guy that can get off to a hot start in games, opposite of D-Law, or with D-Law, doesn't matter. Of Michael Parsons, et cetera, et cetera. But early in the season last year, Dorrance Armstrong was killing it. So, it's a good problem to have. I love that there's a DA and Sam Williams conversation. I'm not trying to get rid of either. I know people want to get rid of Dorrance Armstrong. I'm looking at this thing as a 20-game season. In the 20 games, you're going to need depth. Neville Gallimore is a good one. So Neville Gallimore is definitely a guy that needs to have a good camp. That's a very good one too. Jabril Cox is some answers I'm imagining on the other side most of the game. D Shift says, I think it's going to be a unit that will take a big jump. Linebacker, D Shift. So Nate, so he said Nate not going to be nice to me. Nate, I enjoy listening to Nate. Come on, man. He's a 6-time Pro Bowl, 3-time Super Bowl champion. I'm not finna argue with Nate Newton. No sir, Rebobski. Nate is super. He is cemented into his opinions, and that's fine. You know, he's hilarious with it. But yeah, I wouldn't argue with Nate. I wouldn't do that. I'm seeing Turpin. His name popping up here. So over the last week, I'm finding out here, and it really started with Pat Walker. When Pat Walker came on the show for our scientific method episode, he pretty much came out and said, look, y'all can scratch this whole competition at kick returner or him possibly not making the team. He's on the squad. And I said, all right, you know what? I'll surrender on that. I'm not saying I was ready to kick Turpin off. I said Turpin needs to, and I still believe this, he needs to show he can provide something offensively. However, they did some return things yesterday, and Kevontae Turpin was first team return guy. According to everybody down there, Turpin is your returner. And if he's your returner, he's making his team. So until I get evidence of otherwise, I am looking at that room with Kevontae Turpin on the team, which means there's maybe one spot left. Seriously. Unless they want to go long. They could go 7. But 5 spots are taken if Turpin makes the team. Tolbert's not going nowhere. Turpin, and then you got the big 3. Now, you could say, well, Turpin could be looked at as a specialty guy in the same way that CJ Goodwin is, and now that opens up a spot. But if he's actually going to try to do some offensive things, he's your 5th guy, and now they got maybe 1 spot left. A lot of competition for 1 spot. A lot of competition for 1 spot. Semi, Lemitra, that's a good one. Semi could use a very good camp. And it sounds like him and Tolbert. And let me find this, because I'm not going to go through everything today from the mini camp notes, because we're going to get Pat Walker on here tomorrow. So Pat's going to be able to give us day 1 and day 2 of what happened down there. But there was one note here that I want to bring up about Jalen Tolbert. And I know you said, well, I was talking about Fehoko. Here it is. So between Fehoko and between Jalen Tolbert, the one thing we kept saying was that these guys are going to be able to play faster. Hell, they said it. Tolbert said it. And Michael Gelkin had dropped this on Twitter where he said, quote, Cowboys second-year wide receiver Jalen Tolbert is playing much faster. Evident he is thinking less, has better handle of what he's being asked of him across all wide receiver positions. He caught multiple touchdowns during a red zone 7-on-7 period. When Kellen was out and you heard McCarthy was the guy, and McCarthy came on and said the secret sauce is to make these guys think less and play faster. It's that simple. Immediately, my head turned towards Jalen Tolbert and Semi Fehoko. And it's why I think you see these two guys having leaps. And if they can, here's the guys that we use, the examples. If they could have a Cedric Wilson type of jump in year 2 for Tolbert, year 3 for Semi, your wide receiver room gets that much deeper. And I truly do believe in the talent of Jalen, but it's always been mental. Same thing with Fehoko. I don't know necessarily it's been mental. It's just been more, hey, I need the opportunity and I need to not get hurt. There's a lot of talent in these two guys. And if they don't have to think as much and they're playing much faster, your wide receiver room is extremely deep here. It's 6 deep. Now it depends on what happens with Turpin, but it absolutely goes 5 or 6 deep from a talent standpoint. So I like to hear it. And again, there's a lot of people that poo-poo all this stuff. Oh, somebody's lining up here or somebody's doing this. This is what I always say to that. It's just practice. This is what I always say to that. Would you rather hear that these guys are doing well or that they're not? Because I promise you, if it came out, Jalen Tolbert, man, he dropped about 4 balls. He's not doing good out there. Oh, y'all be blowing this up. But when it's Jalen Tolbert or whomever is doing well out practice, I always just practice. Promise you, y'all be going crazy if it was the other way around. So you need to build momentum. Practice is important. You need to build momentum heading into training camp. Final call of the day. Danny Savage is calling in. Let's see what Danny got to say, man. What's good, Danny?
Good morning, Sky. Good morning, Sky. Good morning.
The conference has been locked.
What's on your mind, man?
Tough with a question because we run so many different topics this morning, but I'm going to stick with the original ones. One question. You said there was an issue with Malik Davis with immaturity. Was that because he spoke out about not playing in the San Fran game, or was that because they didn't put him in the San Fran game?
I have no idea. I don't know what the immaturity is. If I remember correctly, I think it was before San Fran. There was some maturity issues, but him speaking out about San Fran to me wouldn't be a situation where I would be tripping because I'm with him. Like, hey, why are you not playing me? And you got a one-legged Ezekiel Elliott who's not giving you anything. I can give you that pop in San Fran, so I'm not mad at that. Apparently, there's things aside from that about Malik Davis, and that's as far as I'll go until I know extreme details. But the word that I was hearing was maturity issues, which he's a young guy. It is what it is.
Yes, I mean I agree with you 100%. But in that game, the position we were in, where Zeke ain't getting more than a 10-yard run at most, I throw that kid in even with his issues because one long run, one busted run, and now we have a different game. All right, now I'm just going to move on from Malik. And I like Malik. I think he runs hard. I do. Dalvin Cook, listen, he gets cut, I take him any day of the week. But that's not going to happen because Zeke's bags are packed already. They're packed for camp. They're packed for the season. And it's politics, man, politics. The second, people forget, last year, 1 week, the Ravens lost 3 running backs in 1 week last year. The second Dallas has 1 injury in our running back room. Hey, Zeke, you on your way? He's coming. And I would take Dalvin over Zeke any day of the week. But it's politics, man. And, people want to talk about all in. If we went out and got Hopkins, we went out and got a cut Dalvin Cook, because I'm not paying him $11 million, I'd say we're all in. But until that happens, that's not, I don't think we are all in. But I would take Dalvin in a heartbeat because you're going to need more than 3, especially like you said. And I agree with it's going to be running back by committee this year.
Feels like it.
And I'm going to land the plane. And no, go ahead. I'll let you comment.
No, I agree. It feels like it, committee. You're right.
Okay, and I'm going to land the plane with talking about Nate. I think Nate and Eric belong in the Hall of Fame, and you can never argue with Nate Newton because he's a legend, and he was an honorary NWO member for one night. So just right there.
He did come out.
Great show as always.
He did come out. Appreciate you, Danny.
You got it, man. Talk to you later, guys.
I need to clip that. I think Danny sent that to me a while ago, but I need to clip that. Yeah, I'm not arguing with Nate, man. Bro, you 6-time Pro Bowler, 3-time Super Bowl champion. Whatever you say, Nate. I'll give my opinion, but I ain't finna argue with Nate Newton, man. We talking about it. Especially if it comes to offensive line and things like just honestly, just the game. Like he understand. He forgot more football than I know. But it'd be fun to have a legitimate football conversation. I would actually try to pluck his brain. If you notice, anytime I have like players or former players, I'm trying to learn, the nuances and the intricacies of the game that I'm not in that locker room. So I want to know, or in that meeting room, or on that field, I want to know the ins and outs of it. But yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be fun to talk to Nate. According to my guy Jesse, though, you better have the bag if you're trying to get Nate on the show. Nate is not shy to that. If you want me, I need the bag. I can dig it. All right, man. We're going to read some supers and get up out of here. Good stuff today. Shout out to Twitter, by the way. I see a couple of you guys sharing some stuff. Jay Tuck on Twitter. I'm not sure who the Celestial Cowboy is here on the chat, but appreciate you for sharing the, I think it's the Zach Martin quote. I never really say share too much. I'm not trying to be the YouTube, like, subscribe, and share. Like, no. I always say if you like the show, like it. If you want to be a part of what we do, subscribe. But the sharing part is the most important one because it helps reach people that may not know about the show. And, we don't have a super machine behind us. And look, I say this all the time. I personally do think when it comes to Cowboys and when it comes to a Cowboys morning show, this is one of the best ways to start off your day for your Cowboys news. I truly do believe that. We had a couple more that I missed here. Super chats. Shout out to my guy, Matt Lennox.
Super chat.
Drop 20. Appreciate you, Matt. Smoke one for you.
Super chat.
He dropped 2. He dropped 10 and said, it's MTC. We're just preparing just in case someone goes down. We need to see if others can play the spot. What's MTC mean? Better be safe than sorry. Y'all remember the Atlanta game? Yes, we do. Who was out tackle? Enough said. Correct. Yeah, I think this is why I think they're doing this the right way. I'm not gonna hold y'all. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Yeah, I don't do that. I was definitely in a frustrated mode hearing the whole Terrence thing. But now I see, all right, week 2, we're working on this. I get it. We are preparing for an inevitable injury or a possible injury where last year we did not. Flat out, they didn't do it. Now, McCarthy did say something interesting about the whole putting these tackles into left guard. If y'all wanted to really get in deep with that, I thought that was fascinating and interesting. But I honestly, I kind of want to have that conversation with Vach, being the O-line guy. But he mentioned, putting the tackles in that guard because this league is a passing league. And he said, you need to run, but you got to pass to win. And he talked about the little details and nuances of being inside as a tackle. So I'm going to bring that up later on because we will be back today unless things change. The Vosh Lombardi live show. Smoke dropped one more.
Super chat.
And he said, remember what they said, Sky. They've been playing Turpin a whole lot in camp. So, hey, speed on speed is the name of the game, and we have a lot now, for sure. We brought up that group of like 5 of explosive guys the Cowboys. I mean, it could stretch a little bit further. Of explosive guys the Cowboys have on this offense that last year I don't think was the case. You got TP, you got Deuce, you got Turpin if he is getting involved offensively. You got Cooks, right? CD Lamb. And then if you want, maybe you add in a Fehoko, given his speed, 4.3 was a 4.38 type guy, but we haven't seen Fehoko kind of stretch his legs just quite yet. He's been kind of deep ball, jump up, 50-50 ball type guy, possession guy. But you have a plethora of explosive type of dudes where last year, I don't think that was the case. Last year, and look, you talk about the tight end group. I think from a tight end standpoint, he might not run a 4.4, but Jake can give you yak stuff. Hunter Lipke can do things from a fullback stand. So they got a lot of dudes that can offer some explosiveness given their position, where last year that wasn't the case. You had 2 guys. And it was 2 guys, and it was 2 guys they were using. Other than that, you can tell defenses were okay shrinking the field on you. And you can tell that Kellen and them they had to shrink the field themselves. So appreciate you, Bruce. All right, man, this was a good one. I didn't think the Dalvin Cook topic would go, but I thought that was a good conversation there. If you missed the show, we talked about the running back room, Mike McCarthy, a couple drops. We talked about what Zach Martin had to say. Brillo had a good day of practice. We brought him up. And we talked about that offensive line, getting back into order, and what I think was the right thing for the Cowboys to do, and they're handling the situation the right way. It's a really good show. If you enjoyed it, like I said earlier, hit that like button. If you want to be a part of the Bomb Squad, you got to be a subscriber, man. You got to be a subscriber. And then share this with all your friends and family so they can know where to go here in the morning to get their Cowboys goodness, Tomorrow, scientific method, baby. We getting Pat Walker back in the building. We're going inside minicamp, getting detailed analysis on the first 2 days of practice. I'm going to keep saying this because I think having Pat Walker a part of what we do on a weekly basis is unreal. It is such a big deal to me that I'm going to make sure y'all know it's a big goddamn deal. So he'll be on tomorrow. We'll be talking about what he saw day 1, day 2. We'll talk about some of the things that may have not been reported out there or tweeted out there. And we'll continue to get that inside information. So make sure y'all do not miss tomorrow's show. Hit that bell. That's one thing that is important. Hit that bell. And then Friday, we'll continue to cover the last week of Cowboys practices until we go on a hiatus, man. Not looking forward to it. But they'll be going on a hiatus. With that said, appreciate you guys for joining me this morning. I'm going to go ahead and press this button and go on about my day. Get to work because it don't stop. Is that Bomb Squad drop with Casanova? No, that is from the Boxer. Now it's got a brain fart. But it's my man that be like, Bomb Squad. As a Boxer. I'll be out of here. Love y'all. Peace. Yes, Dante Wilder. Appreciate you. Till this day. Yep.